Welcome back to another episode of a strange and mysterious podcast. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, G. Introduce yourself, fellas.
Go ahead, McVice.
I'm McVice.
A ghostly,
2D Rhyme Slayer.
a ghostly voice that you'll never see his face.
From beyond the blackness.
From beyond the blackness. And I'm Define 999. I'm your Huckleberry.
Oh, nice. Squeeze him.
That's a good one. We're in a western.
Bang bang, mother blacker.
We're in a western. Hell yeah.
All right. So have y'all ever had sleep paralysis before?
Yes.
Yes, I have. I can't say I've had it a bunch, but I know that I've had at least maybe 2 or 3 episodes that have scared the hell out of me, where I felt like I was awake and I could not move, like for a long period of time. Now it probably was like 3 seconds, but it felt like 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Do you know what causes your sleep paralysis?
I always assumed that it was when you go to sleep, the brain shuts off certain functions so you're not flailing around in your dreams and hurting yourself. So I always assumed that it is that system getting its wires crossed and you becoming consciously awake, but your body has not gotten back to that point where the brain has taken that little safety switch off. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I've always assumed, that it could be related to, drugs, could be related to genetics, that some people maybe get it more than others, but it has something to do with that little safety switch in our brains that kicks on when we're in REM sleep, so that we're not, otherwise imagine that dream you had where you were running and fighting a demon, you would beat up your wife in bed. If you didn't have that safety switch.
I'm just saying. What if she was?
That's true too. But without that safety switch in there, some humans would be hurting themselves while they were sleeping so much. So it's related to that system.
How many times have you fallen asleep and had a dream and fallen off the bed? I have.
I've never done that.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times where I'm sleeping and I'll wake up and I've fallen off the bed, or I'll turn over and wake up for a second, then go back to bed because of my dream. So I've had those. How about you, McVice? What's your experience there with sleep paralysis?
I mean, I've definitely experienced it. I don't know, several times throughout my life. I haven't had that happen in a few years though. And the one thing I've observed is, I would say 99% of the time is when I was like living with someone else is when I used to experience it. Yeah, I know, right?
That's kind of odd.
So it is. I mean, I know I've read the scientific, just like Define 999 said, I've read the scientific reasons for it, but we also know there's a spiritual aspect to it as well. And I do find it interesting that I think most of the bouts of sleep paralysis that I've had have been when I was either living with someone else or at someone else's house, like there's just other people around, so I don't know.
So you think that it might be brujeria?
Yeah, I do.
Or it could be connected, I'm not saying
it's a witch, but it might be a witch.
It could be connected to other people's energy too.
Yeah,
good point.
It could be, because just like you can feel when someone comes into a room when you have your back to them, everyone's got an aura or an energy to them. It could be related to like someone else is moving in another room, and your brain is picking up on it in a subconscious level, and it's trying to wake you up. Maybe it's like a weird, very soft waking someone up. But it's so soft that you don't fully wake up to where you have full control over your body again. It's I don't know.
Gee, do you remember in episode 1? I think we kind of talked about this stuff because I think I talked about my little encounter with that demon lady, whatever the fuck she was.
Yes, 26 episodes ago. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had also mentioned I have a theory, Define 999, with ghosts and all that, man, that it has everything to do with the people around you or you. Because I've always noticed anytime I've had stuff like that happen, it's when I had roommates or something like that. Living by myself, nothing happens, you know? I go to places and they're like, oh, it's haunted. And like you take the place I work at, you have several people who swear up and down that building's haunted. And I've been in that building by myself, absolutely by myself, and have never felt anything weird, have had anything weird happen or anything. So I don't know, man, you know?
Well, you know how they say too that, you know, they like to say that we have these conscious filters in our mind or unconscious filters in our mind that filter out paranormal activity because it just shouldn't be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they say that kids are more likely to see ghosts.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm wondering if for some reason certain people tend to create and excite paranormal activity.
Yeah.
And other people do not.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's not even based on kids. Maybe it's based on individuals and the way that the paranormal interacts with them. So I guess
physiologically, right?
Yeah, but so I guess, you know, like for instance, you know, all the ghost hunter shows, those guys are really good at finding ghosts. Maybe they fell into ghost hunting, but what I mean is that what predicated what? Did the ghost hunting predicate, or were they just those guys that end up doing those professions and that end up getting into that hobby for whatever reason are just more attuned to the paranormal, or the paranormal is more attuned to them?
Nice.
And so it tends to, so you could be at a really haunted place and not experience anything because for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that the location is not haunted or has some kind of paranormal energy. It's just for whatever reason, you're not exciting it. You know, you're like why is it that certain rocks, shape and function you can get it to skip like 10 times, and a rounded rocker that's more of a circle is just going to drop right into the lake. You know, it's related. Some people I think are just sort of like those perfect rocks for skipping across a body of water. They're just, for whatever reason, either more attuned themselves, or the thing that's stressing that paranormal activity out, that's causing it to activate, that's causing it to energize. I think it could be any one of multiples of that. And it's possible that some of your roommates that you had lived with maybe tended to be more on the paranormal spectrum, and you were just reacting to that.
Absolutely. And I absolutely believe that. Because, to allude to your point you made with the ghost hunting shows, in the case of Ghost Adventures, I think G and I would agree big time that Zach Baggins, that motherfucker has some shit attached to him, you know? Like, probably, he's even mentioned that after one of his investigations, he went home and shit started happening to him. So he's definitely got stuff attached to him.
Yeah, I think all of it's true,
right?
Yeah. But also back 26 episodes ago in episode 1, I also mentioned the house I used to live in Las Cruces, that, I had some stuff happen. But I remember one day I came, because I was working in the oil industry at the time. One night I came home and all my roommates were gone. And this was after stuff had already happened. So initially I was kind of creeped out, I got home at night, all the lights were off. So knowing that shit had happened to me in that house before, initially I was like, oh, fuck, So I go into the house, and I start walking across the dark house, turning on lights. But you know what, man? It was one of the most peaceful nights I had there. I showered, no issues, went to bed, had a good night's sleep, no fucking issues whatsoever. Not one weird thing happened, It wasn't until my fucking roommates came back, you know?
It could be related to energy and different people, and you know,
Absolutely.
some people are more attuned to it, or for whatever reason are more likely to cause it to get energized or to you know, I almost kind of see it like, I kind of see it like how, you know, like when you're getting emotional about something, there's this emotional rise, whether you're angry, whether you're sad, but that's something that you can physically say, it's a rise. It went from down here to here. Yet it's not something you can see, right? You can't see someone. You can see their body movements, but you can't see within their emotional self to be able to say, oh, well, look, they're getting hot, they're getting heated, their emotion is rising. So maybe it's sort of like that with ghosts. When they come across people that bug them, or for whatever reason, it's like not even something they control necessarily. Maybe it's like around certain people, they just become more able to touch things, and you know, and maybe that's why on an emotional level, using that as a metaphor too, a lot of these ghost encounters seem to be like the ghosts are angry about something, or trying to get attention for something, or you know, not in all cases, you know, like the last one we did where that guy's grandpa walked by the window or something. Not in all cases, but in a lot of those cases where crazy shit tends to happen, I almost feel like it's the live person that's the react, you know, the spirit is just reacting to the live person's energy that's in that space. And two, this is the real head fucking part. How do we not know that a spirit can take our energy, and when it's taking that energy, is even taking some of our self with it? So how do we not know that it's not just the ghost that's deciding to move that chair, that it's actually you and the ghost deciding to move that chair? Do you know what I mean? It's like we don't know really diddly squat about the actual mechanisms that supernatural. We know some things. We know that temperature decreases. We know certain things, but just exactly how the process happens, it could be any matter and number of things. And I really like thinking of it in the sense of when you walk into a spirit's or whatever kind of supernatural being or creature, that it's not only using its own energy, but it's using your energy to help animate it. And if it does that, if you're already angry or upset or pissed off, how does that affect that other energy too? And maybe it's a combination of the two. I don't know, man. That's a tangent we could go on for hours, I'm sure.
Well, you know, building on that stuff, right? Because you know, human interaction between, you know, spirits and even just people, right? You can feel people's kind of, you know, I guess aura, their kind of intention. You know, how many times have you met somebody and clicked with them right away, right? You're like, oh shit, like we have something in common.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Or you met a girl and you clicked with her, right? Or the opposite, right? You meet somebody, you go, man, I don't really like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something about that person that just rubs you the wrong way. Yeah, exactly.
There's an energy, right, about it. You know, so how does the body interpret that? How does it take that signal and turn it into, you know, maybe that energy just doesn't match my energy, right? Yeah. How does the body filter that energy? You know, and going back to what we, you know, previously started this out as, right, with the sleep paralysis. I'm going to tell you guys a story that happened to me a couple of years ago. And this happened to me probably, I'd say, close to 11 years ago. I know that when I sleep on my back, that I'll get sleep paralysis. I already know that. That's a fact, right? That's why I never sleep on my back, even to this day. But it first started for me, sleep paralysis, when I was 18. And it freaked me out, right? Because here I was laying on my back and I was still awake, but I couldn't get up physically. And it tripped me the hell out. I freaked out. I was like, am I fucking dying? What the hell's wrong with me? Right? Are the beer kicking in? Was it the weed I smoked? I don't know, right?
It's something
kicked in, right? So it had happened to me, and I wasn't on anything, but I was going through a very stressful time in my life at that time. And that was the first time that started to happen to me. Now, as I started to understand what was going on as I got older, I was like, oh, okay, if I sleep on my back, I induce sleep paralysis. Well, one day, 10 years ago, I was laying down and this young lady from a long time ago was laying on my shoulder, okay? And I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I did it anyways. And so I fell asleep, I thought.
Were you cuddling?
I was still conscious, right? And in my ear, okay, because I was in sleep paralysis, I couldn't move. I was like, okay, I need to get out of this. If I move my fingers, I can get out of this, right? The girl was sleeping on my shoulder, on my arm, and I was trying to move my fingers to get out of sleep paralysis. And in my ear, the opposite ear, I heard, hey, what are you doing?
Weird.
Okay. I had never, ever heard a voice before. Okay. All the extra times that I'd been in sleep paralysis, I never heard a voice. I heard a voice as clear as day go, hey, what are you doing? Okay. I said, screw that shit. I started to move my fingers, got out of it. Never have been in sleep paralysis since. Never.
Did you never allow yourself to sleep on your back?
No, never. Ever since that day that I heard that voice in my ear, and it wasn't her, it was my other ear, say, hey, what are you doing? Nope, I'm out of this. I don't want to deal with this shit. Okay.
See,
so
now,
that day, never mess with it ever again.
That's perfect, because this alludes to something else I wanted to mention. So they say when you drink alcohol, they call it the spirits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you drink liquor, vodka, bourbon, whiskey, scotch, rum, brandy, you name it. Supposedly you're drinking the spirits, and they say you actually do take in spirits when you drink that stuff. Now, I also have come across information saying one of the reasons, and a lot of viewers might be pissed off of what I'm about to say here, but being promiscuous, every time you sleep, like for us, anytime we sleep with a woman, we can actually take on whatever energy she has attached to her, So if you're with a girl who's been, with a lot of different guys, maybe a lot of fucked up situations, if she's got some bad energy attached to her, that bad energy could get attached to you too. So it kind of ties in too, man, because I don't know, maybe with that one girl, I think I remember which one it was where this one happened with you, but she could have some shit attached to her, bro. And in that bout of sleep paralysis, that could have been that spirit talking to you, like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Basically,
Leave this chick. She cray cray. Hey,
no,
what's that saying?
No,
what's that saying go? Never stick it in crazy.
Well, the thing is, I would take it as it didn't want him to leave her. It wanted him to stay, even though he knew that, of course, that instance of what was going on at that time was bad. He's like, oh, no, screw this shit. But it's like, hey, what are you doing?
Well, there are a lot of stories of people that have gotten sleep paralysis and they notice a figure in the room with them with a hood on.
I've heard about that shit,
and
dude.
they
And
creeps up on them. That's why I wanted you to kind of tell your story a little bit. I know that it's probably not related so much to sleep paralysis, but I think hooded figures, right? Whether you're in sleep paralysis or not, I think that's kind of maybe a connection there, right? So tell your story, advice.
Okay. So 2015. So at the time, man, I was working on trying to, because I got to give you this is important. I was working on trying to decalcify my pineal gland, open up my third eye, right? So I was eating foods that supposedly help you decalcify it, and then I was listening to these fucking frequencies online that are supposed to help you decalcify it, right? Well, one night I went to bed, and I was living down in El Paso, Texas at this point. But one night I went to bed, and I always sleep on the left side of my bed. That's just where I sleep all the time. And I go to sleep. I had been asleep for maybe about an hour or so, and then all of a sudden I wake up and I look over to my left, and there's this what I take a female energy that was dark. It was in a hood. It had like pointed fingers, almost like claws for fingers. And I remember seeing three of them, like she had them like up in the air, almost like she was ready to pounce me. The way she was kind of swaying is like she wanted to pounce me. And I was scared as shit. Like, what the fuck am I seeing right now?
So were you like laying down on your bed or like?
Yeah. I was, dude. I sleep on my back, man. So literally, I just look over to my left and she's right there, like right next to me, on the side of my fucking bed.
Could you feel like breath? Could you feel
no? I couldn't feel breath or anything. You could feel the energy, man. It was bad. This was not good, This was not a good thing at all.
And had that apartment complex, had it been known for anything evil or ghosts or anything like that, anything paranormal?
Dude, I have no idea. The apartment complex, it's an apartment complex, so you could imagine all the different types of people who had lived there,
Yeah, different energies.
Shout out to El Paso, Texas. Shout out to El Paso, Texas.
Yes, sir. But
People's Tacos, go get it. It's delicious.
Yes, sir. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, all I know is, it's funny because I don't even pray to Jesus anymore. But at the time, I prayed to Jesus and then it went away, But I was shook up for a few months after that, man.
How long would you say that she stood there?
Probably like less than a minute,
That's still a long fucking time to see.
Fuck yes, dude. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see that.
I wouldn't want to see that.
Because I'm sitting there thinking like, what the fuck is about to happen? Like I was like, is this thing about to pounce me? Is this shit about to kill me? Like, is this shit trying to take my soul? You know what I mean? I was scared like shit, dude. All these thoughts are just running through my head at once, And
could you like pick out like specific details? Like, for example, did it have hair on its arm? Was it
no? Because it literally
chains or
she literally looked like she was wearing a hood.
And how did you know it was a woman? Like, did it have hair or?
I think it did kind of have hair coming out of the hoodie, but the thing was, man, I couldn't really make out the face because it was so like covered, like it almost created a shadow to where you couldn't see the face. You know what I mean? But I said, the energy I felt was a female energy, A
female energy? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think like this is a dude thing. I was like, this is a fucking evil woman thing, demon thing,
Yeah.
It was so fucking terrifying, man. And then like I told you, G, at the time, like for months after that, I was so like I wasn't looking forward to going home. Like I was scared as shit. I had a hard time going to sleep after that. Every time I hopped in the shower, I was fucking paranoid that I was gonna open up the shower curtain and that thing was gonna be standing there. It fucked me up. But I quit trying to work on decalcifying my pineal gland after that shit. I said, fuck that,
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about people that have sleep paralysis and see stuff as far as like hooded figures or the man with the black hat? Have you guys heard of that one?
Hat Man? Oh, I've heard of Hat Man. Oh.
So
that's an encounter you don't want to have.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another famous one where people in sleep paralysis say that a man in a hat goes to go with them.
Yeah, you do not want to have that encounter. I've heard several interviews about that shit. Fuck that,
So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that they're spirits? Do you think it's the mind playing tricks on you? What do you think it is?
I think
I
it could be
dimensional. Is it the brain trying to protect itself?
Maybe. I don't know, man. It's so weird because we've all I don't know, define triple nine. Have you experienced it? I don't remember if you said you have or not.
Yeah, but you know what?
Okay.
I've experienced it, but in a weird way. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've had little bits of sleep paralysis, like I'm talking almost milliseconds of it, like half second.
Oh, okay.
But this is the difference. I've had dreams where I was heavily involved in crazy shit, supernatural type shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm awakened suddenly, usually for me fighting a demon or whatever, that I'll have this leftover dream awareness that is now with me in my waking life. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll have this crazy dream about. So I have a repeated dream that I have, a repeated nightmare that I've always had. That has to deal with a house. It's a very specific house. It changes its appearance a little bit over time, but it pretty much stays as this kind of 1980s house with a 1970s, 80s interior, shag carpets, gaudy furniture, bright colors, wood paneling, shit like the 80s, right? But this house always calls me to go further deeper into it. The further you go deeper into it, the more evil and the more crazy it gets. Now, me and my therapist talk about this house a lot. We think it's might be some kind of construct that I've created, but I will say that this house has a entity within it that is evil. Okay, and this entity, one time, I've had instances where I've been fighting it, or I know that as soon as I walk through this room, as I go deeper into this house, and this is the other weird thing about it. It looks like a normal, 4-story old house, but
is it in the country or in the city?
I never see its setting of where it is. No. I just can see it from the outside and me going in, and it's always calling me in. But it always ends up being so vast and big that it doesn't make any sense inside. But what happens when I confront the entity, and I tend to wake up quickly out of it, for about 5 or 10 seconds after that, I will feel the entity in my bedroom as if it's right there, sitting by my bed. In fact, one time that this happened, the entity was at the foot of my bed, and I could have sworn I saw it. It was female, and it was in a shape, and I was paralyzed just for the tiniest little second, right? And then I get up, and then it's almost as if that presence I was feeling in the dream is now here in my waking life, right? For about 5 or 10 seconds, and then it goes away. And I've always felt like it's this leftover hangover from the dream. Now, is that what it is? Is it just that my brain is taking a little bit of time to get back to waking life, and I was in between sleeping life and waking life? Or is it something else? Is it something actually paranormal?
I think it's something paranormal.
I have not been able to figure that out.
Yeah, I think it's something paranormal, man. The fact that it's attached to that dream specifically.
It's always attached to the house. Right. And the house, but see, we think, my therapist and I think the house is a construct that I created that is related to a lot of other fears that I have in my life. But that dream, hangover, I've experienced it multiple times. I have experienced it with other dreams too. But it's always the worst when I'm fighting with that fucking entity in that house. The entity's always calling me to come deeper, deeper, deeper. Almost like if you were baiting an animal, right?
Yeah,
trying to trap it.
Yeah.
And I can't keep from going further into it. That's the other weird part. That this house, when I go to explore it, at first everything seems fine, and I can feel it's just a little bit evil, and it keeps calling me to go deeper and deeper and deeper into it.
Are there any physical marks, or is it just feeling?
It's just feeling.
It's feeling. Okay.
But that one time when it was the worst, I swear to you, that entity stood at the foot of my bed for about 10 seconds, and I was freaked. And maybe I was just telling myself it was just a leftover from the dream. It's not really there. It's you were in the process of a heavy duty battle with this entity, and you awoke suddenly, and your brain is just catching up to reality, or at least that's what I told myself.
And you said this entity was a female?
It was a female. It was dark. And it was not good. And my therapist and I talk about it all the time. Is it a construct? Is it something that I created? Am I putting all of my fears and creating this entity? It just exists as whatever fears and guilt and trauma that I have in my body. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is. I don't know if it's, but then again, we're getting back to that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Why do we have to consider supernatural things as this black and white thing that an entity is an entity? I'm saying that we don't know that for sure. We don't know that an entity is a supernatural event isn't actually created by outside of you and you itself. You're both that thing, right?
So on that note, I love where you're going, but let me reset.